Hello, this is
Yes.
Tori Henderson. I am here with Lilly today, and she's going to kind of talk about what it's like to go through the 12-week Supermom is Getting Tired coaching program, because you finished it up maybe about a month ago now, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of want to remind you of where you were when we first started coming. I don't know what you remember. What do you remember about how you were feeling and why you first hired me?
I just remember, I just honestly remember having a migraine because I was just so overwhelmed, all the stress of everything that I had. And I was on Instagram and you had like an advertisement, and it's like, are you feeling exhausted? Like you just did the whole spiel. And I was like, I just remember feeling like she's talking to me. This is meant to be. And then right then and there, mid migraine, I just made that first initial, appointment to
Hmm.
see if it was a good fit. Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's
Interesting.
all I that's honestly, I feel like I've gone so far now from that point of who I was back then that other than that migraine, I can't remember.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, it sounds crazy, but I feel like so much has changed that it's hard for me to put myself in those shoes.
Yeah. You're not the only one that says it. A lot of my clients say the same thing. It's almost like because the transformation happens from the inside. A lot of times we look around to look outside of ourselves to think about what's going to change. Well, what do you want to be different on the outside? But when you change from the inside, it just feels sort of like natural and normal. And
Yeah.
so I'll remind you.
Oh gosh.
When we first started talking, you were, I mean, really a lot of the stuff that I would say was really imprisoning you the most and just wearing on you was this fear of being a bad mom,
Yeah.
doing it wrong, saying the wrong thing, yelling at the kids, but also along with being afraid of being a bad mom was also this and I have to do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I can't take a break. Like I have to work super hard, which then naturally we get resentful. It's the people around us, usually husbands, for why aren't you taking this burden off of me? And so
Yeah.
really both. It was like, I'm scared, I'm afraid I'm doing it wrong, and I have to do it 24/7.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And so the 24/7 thing, that's definitely changed. I can remember now. Yeah, I just felt like I had to always be with the kids. And I felt guilty for wanting to not be with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was the cycle of feeling like a bad mom. And then so then when I was with them, it's like there's just an intense pressure of um wanting to be a good, the best mom. And whenever I kind of fell short to those really high standards that I had, I would just beat myself up.
Yeah. I remember asking you, how do you know if you're a good mom or bad mom? Right? We have this inner dialogue, but we never really question it. And you're like, if I do everything right.
Sounds like me. Right.
Oh, there's a lot
Yeah.
of pressure there.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure. And then I do remember in that call you had me do an exercise that was what percent of you feels this way? And then as we talked at the end of the exercise, you asked me again, and I was like, I don't feel that way. And I told you it felt like magic, like how my thoughts changed. And that recurred a lot in our sessions, where I came in sort of with one mindset and I left with another. And the cool part about it was that it wasn't just in the moment. It's sort of it stuck. You know what I mean? That's what was the most helpful, I would say.
Yeah. And so, what would you say to somebody who says, I don't know that talking would really do that much good?
Oh my gosh, talking changes everything, because you hear it's crazy. So you have these crazy thoughts in your brain, and until you hear them out loud and you sort of untangle them out loud, then that's when you realize how sort of skewed they are, and how, I don't want to say wrong because it's how you feel, you know what I mean? But it's cute, it's not fully correct.
Like we said, we question it. We just take a look at it and see if it's helping, if it's serving you, if it feels true, if it's accurate. Because
Yeah.
it really teaches us that you can believe your own thoughts, and your thoughts can lie. Like,
Yes,
believe your
thoughts
own
can lie,
lies.
for sure. Yeah, your thoughts can lie for sure, like, yeah, a constant negative thought of like, I'm not doing this right, I'm not a good mom. Like, I would have, I remember now, like, I would have, it was sort of like a cyclical pattern, um there would be, I don't know what would lead up to it right now, but basically at the kind of peak of my pattern, or when I would crash, I would just be in tears and telling my husband, how awful of a mom I thought I was. And I remember once, I was comparing myself to a friend who's a total crafter, and I'm not a craft. I like to be outdoors, but I'm not a crafter, and I got down on myself for that. And so the very after a full night of just crying to my husband, the next day I went to the dollar store and I got a bunch of just a bunch of like popsicle sticks. And oh, sorry, I'm getting a call and I'm gonna deny it. I don't know how to do that. Oh. Okay, there we go. Um, and I'm back. But I got a bunch of popsicle sticks and just glue and paint and just stuff. And, I was like, oh, I'm going to do this. And then, the next 3 days I was all gung ho about um, the arts and crafts stuff. And I still didn't feel like a good mom. Like, that's not what was going to do it, but it was the comparison to another mom and sort of my own self-talk that was just kind of dragging me down.
Yeah. So what else did you try? So you're like, okay, I'm not feeling like a good mom, but I need to be a good mom. So I'm going to try and become a crafter. That was one. Tell me what else you tried.
Oh gosh. Oh man. I was like the super volunteer at school. I tried doing that. Uh, Never, like, I mean, and I know this is, I don't know. I feel like a lot of moms maybe struggle with this too, is like not wanting to leave your kids, feeling guilty about that time away. Like, so always being with them, um, like making sure nothing went wrong, that sort of thing. Um, then I went through like a sports phase. I need to get them in activities, and I was just overdoing everything. That's what I would.
You took a parenting class too, didn't you?
Yes, I took a parenting
Love
class,
and Logic.
Love and Logic, which was really helpful. But that's how I just felt like I was just lost. And it was. I wouldn't say that that wasn't helpful. I would say that definitely was helpful, but just like sort of just everything that I was piling onto my plate because I felt like a bad mom was just too much, and it just all came crashing down.
Yeah. So you can try to act your way into it, but working from the inside out, it works much better.
Yeah, because now I'm like a way chiller mom with myself and with my kids. Still working on the husband part.
So you noticed any changes in you?
He has, yeah, like basically that I'm just more relaxed with them. I don't have as many of my meltdowns as I used to. The kids have meltdowns all the time. That's not going to change. Um, but I have less of mine.
Mhm. I remember one of the first things that I had homework assignments that I had you do, because you had such rigid beliefs around good mom, bad mom,
Uh-huh.
is I said, I want you to break a rule, like a social rule is what we came up with, like this, because you're like, I have to do everything perfectly. It was the only way you thought that you could feel good. And so I said, well, let's just try a little something. And you came up with the idea of, well, actually, you didn't do this at first. The first thing you did, which I loved, because I'd never heard anybody do this before, it was so creative, was you, in your break a rule homework assignment, you put the kids in front of the TV for breakfast, and you ordered DoorDash for yourself and FaceTimed your friend. And I just loved that. I thought that was so awesome. Do you remember?
Yeah. It was awesome because I think we were out of food, and then in my mind, like old me would have been like, no, like you can't put them in front of the TV and you can't relax. You should go order all the food. And then after you get the groceries and after you get them back settled down, then you eat. And so that was the rule that I broke, was to feed myself, which sounds crazy, right?
Well, do you remember it like kind of being like difficult to do?
Yes, I felt, now I can't imagine feeling this way, but I do remember in the moment feeling like guilty that I was doing something for myself. It
Yeah.
sounds silly, right? Like, but I felt really guilty that like, I'm spending money for myself and it was food. I was sustaining myself. So
But
that,
what do you think the rewards of doing that were? For just like honoring yourself and like indulging in something that was
yeah.
fun for you. Like, what do you think the effect of that was?
Um, there's like the little level good effects, because like anyone will go hangry once they get to a certain level of hungry. So there was those really immediate um effects, and then there was also like giving back to myself and learning how to give back to myself. It was like a domino effect. Like that was this small thing that I did, so then I was able to do a bigger thing and then a bigger thing, and eventually, like I'm saying now, is that like I can't imagine thinking that way. And so now I'm able to sort of, like how you said, like honor myself and give back to myself in a peaceful way, because that wasn't very peaceful. That was like guilt ridden. Now
Right.
give to myself peacefully and happily, and therefore enjoy it more. And then when I enjoy it more, like I'm just a happier person. Like I used to never listen to my own music. I used to only listen to kids' music because I thought like, no, I can't do it. And now I know for some people that's gonna be like, oh, this chick's crazy. Like she never listens to her own music in front of the kids.
Not my super moms. They could relate, I'm sure. If not
know?
music, then something else.
Yeah, it's just so there was like a trickle down or a domino or whatever you want to call it. It's just I am able, so now there are bigger things that maybe cause me guilt. Like I'm going for a wedding, to my friend's wedding. That's not this weekend, but next weekend. And I would have been mortified. Like past me, I
Well,
wouldn't have even
tell them where you're going for this wedding.
so I'm going away for 1 week to Copenhagen, Denmark, for my best friend's wedding. And I
Without kids.
without the kids, without the husband, that would never have happened prior to the 12-week program, guaranteed. Like, but now, even though it's like, so now I'm going, and there's like this much guilt. There's just the normal, natural, I think, amounts of guilt. But I think back then, like I would have been mortified of even thinking.
Yeah, you wouldn't have.
No, it wouldn't. It
I
just
remember when we talked about, I remember saying like, gosh, it's too bad you don't go to one of those gyms that has like the pool, or like where you could just go lay out by the pool. And you're like, I do have one of those gyms.
yeah,
So I said, your homework is to not work out,
yeah.
but just go lay out by the pool. And you're like, oh, I could never do that.
Yeah, that sounded insane. And I've done that a lot more now,
Okay, but this is what, because I think some people think, well, if I do that once, then I'm never going to work out again. Then I'm just going to lay out by the pool, and I'm just going to become this like fat sloth who doesn't care about her kids and leaves them in the daycare for 5 hours. Has that happened to you?
No. Like,
It
I feel like, but it's interesting. It's kind of like maybe this is how my son feels when I tell him he can't do. Maybe that's not a good analogy, but basically what I'm trying to get at is that when I thought I couldn't do it, right? Like I would have that thought of like, I'm just gonna, go crazy with it, right? But now that I've done it and I know that I can do it, it's not like this it's not like this forbidden crazy thing. Like it's easily controllable is what I'm trying to get at. Like, when I need that break, it's there, and it's easily accessible in my brain to get to that point.
There's something so nice about knowing I could do whatever I want to do when I want to do it.
Yes. it's so freeing. It's like, yeah, it's like I was a prisoner to myself.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. So after I had done that exercise, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks after that, I went back to the gym and I was just so tired. And I love yoga, but I just I didn't even have the energy like to do the normal yoga that I do. And it was 10 minutes in, and normal me would have been like, nope, you're in there. You've been here 10 minutes. There's no way you're getting up and leaving. And I was like, screw this. I got up and I went downstairs and I checked to see if there was a massage available. And luckily enough, there was. And I got a massage, which was like, crazy that I got a massage, that I left a workout and got a massage instead while the kids were in the daycare.
And it's just what it is it's just balancing out. I mean, you were giving so much of yourself that it was showing up as, anger and resentment and just the short fuse and just irritability. So that when you start to balance it out, then you're giving and receiving. And if the scale starts to tip too much, you just increase the receiving again.
Oh, that answers the previous question about how my husband has noticed it. I was like kind of struggling. But that's one thing, is like now I am way more willing for him to go have his fun, whereas before I'm like, oh, you don't get to go have fun. Like
I'm slaving away. You need to slave away.
Yeah. So now, if he wants to go to the movies with his friends or whatever, like I'm just like, yes, go enjoy your time. You need it. And then that snowballs, and then he's like, oh, okay, you go enjoy your time. So we're happier in that sense too.
Yeah. Very cool. And you were very quick to move past all of this stuff, because like the second half of the program, we talked a lot about like other relationships, outside relationships, other family members, neighbors, friends, whatever. But how do you feel like that's shifting for you in your other like adult relationships?
A lot. This is probably like very personality specific, or I don't know, maybe that this is, but I was like a giant people pleaser, and that caused me a lot of stress of how, in motherhood, it translates to like, everyone's watching me. And so I have to do mothering the way other people expect me to mother. And so I wasn't being genuine to myself or to my kids, I feel like. And then in personal relationships, I feel like I was, going out of my way a lot, and just doing things for other people, not for myself, and not genuine to myself.
For their approval.
For their approval, yeah. And so that's changed. And that is another source of freedom, because now I feel like I can truly be myself, that's been huge. I know that this is initially started off very mom centered, which I totally appreciated and needed. But then, towards the end, when it got to different relationships, it was super helpful.
And you even taken being yourself a step further, and like you managed to, we kind of gave you some mental bandwidth and clarity enough so that you are taking on a master's degree program.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was like, where's she going? Yeah. God. Another huge, I have so much to thank you for, like, in my life. I feel like,
imagine like back in May or June, whenever we started, like
I was mortified. I keep using that word, but like I was more like, I knew it was something, it's been something I've been wanting for years. After I had my first son, and then you just get into this cycle, and then, I didn't have the bandwidth. I didn't. And then not only did I not have the bandwidth, but like I have this mindset of like, okay, I'm not good enough. I'm not going to be able to cut it. And so all these worries would stop me from even trying, and that's one thing that changed too. Like I am not afraid to try. And so the program is in computer science, and I have a degree in math, but it's it's different, like there's a lot of overlap, but it's a lot different. And so with my first class, like I was just scared to even start. I didn't even want to look at the calendar. I didn't want to know what was coming ahead. And I remember you one time saying like that you have a daily what am I avoiding list, like a one thing I'm avoiding. And so that really helped, was like, what am I avoiding about the class, and then why, and that was so helpful. And I would never be comfortable, and I'm still uncomfortable to say this because I hate coming off cocky, but I'm kicking ass in the class. Like I'm actually like, I'm staying on top of it versus procrastinating, which is like super unlike me, and it feels liberating, like I can do it,
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, I'm so excited to hear that, because I haven't talked to you since you started the class. And last time we talked, I could tell you had a lot of avoiding, right? A lot like anxious, like
avoiding, yeah, for sure.
So that's great to hear that the things that we talked about, it doesn't just last 12 weeks, that you're able to kind of keep going, because like I tell clients, like, you learn how to coach yourself. And that's what you were doing. You're like, what am I avoiding? Why am I avoiding it? So
yeah.
And, you and I kind of talked about, therapy, how is one of the reasons I feel like we have a whole generation of moms who are terrified of making a mistake, of like, because therapy kind of teaches you to blame the mom, and like, oh, if my mom had done everything perfectly, I wouldn't feel this way.
Yeah.
You're like, well, then I'm just going to do everything perfectly.
Yeah. I've done the whole therapy thing. Like I've gone to a lot of therapy with, with my own issues with my mom, and a lot of it, tying back to me as a mom. And yeah, like I just, it wasn't solving the problem, because I feel like it was just talking, whereas with you, it's sort of problem solving. There's action. Versus with therapy, I feel like, and I'm not saying therapy's bad.
There's a time and a place for it, for sure.
But I feel like with you, I really liked like homework. I mean, not like,
lay out by the pool homework.
then yeah, like it was action based, or like how to talk to my husband, or how to be okay internally, the way my thoughts with my children, like, a lot of action. I think that was super helpful, because then I felt like these actions changed my thinking too.
Yeah.
Like trying it out once, like laying out by the pool once, and I was like, I'm not a bad mom if I do.
Yeah, it's finding all those shades of gray rather than the like good, bad, right, wrong. Perfectionism. It's like because you start to notice, like, wow, like after that by the pool for an hour, like I'm like happy to see my kids. I'm so much more patient with my kids.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to, I want to play a game with them. But if you don't ever get that break, then it's like every request, Mom, will you play with me? You're like, no, I don't want to play.
Yeah. Sure.
So it actually makes you a better mom, but only if you're listening to you. Right? Like what works for you might be different than everybody else, because, if I got my master's in math, for example, in computer science, I would not be kicking ass, and I would not be a better mom. I would be like, why? I feel like my daughter right now in high school. Why do I have to learn this stuff? I'm never going to use it again. That's
Yeah, definitely. That's a good piece right there. Is listening to yourself, because I think I had lost that. I had lost that part of me that could listen to myself. And it's really nice to have that back.
Well, I appreciate you getting on the computer here and telling people about your experience. And
for sure. And I try to tell people that I meet too, struggling moms, that like life coaching, if not with you, just, find a life coach that that jives. But I feel like you're so awesome because this is your niche, like
I've been there and suffered.
Yeah, exactly. Like you've been there and you can relate, and it's so nice. That was another problem with therapy, is like, if you find someone that's not a mom, they're not going to understand. It doesn't matter how many books you read, like they're not going to understand what it's really like, you know? So that was nice about you.
One of the problems I have, I guess that kind of like it's concerning, is like I'll tell people like, oh, I'm a life coach for moms who are overworked, overstressed, burned out, lost, resentful, you know, and they're like, oh, so like every mom. I'm like, no, this is not how it has to be. Like, this is not just normal parenting. Like, and that just kills me because like I know what's on the other side of that. And I'm thinking, oh, that's caregiver fatigue.
Yes. Yeah.
Resentful, overwhelmed, exhausted. That's the definition of caregiver fatigue. That's not normal motherhood. It's just maybe normal in our culture, but it's not.
Yeah. So I tell everyone about you. I'm like, I have this great life coach, and she's specific for moms, and you should check her out. And it's on the phone, and it's worked wonders. And so I really hope that people do, you know, reach out to you, because it was, you know, like I said that I have trouble spending money on myself, but this is like the best purchase I've ever made for myself, because it's given back so much.
Yeah, that's the one thing I would say everybody agrees on, including myself. Like, nobody ever regrets spending money on, because it's mental and emotional health, which affects everything in your life, your ability to enjoy your life.
Yeah,
more so than physical health, I would think.
It was also starting to impact my physical health. You know, the migraines, they were constant, and I think that was like my last one, you know.
Even your migraines went away.
What was that?
Even your migraines have.
Yes, yeah. I mean, because it was they're very stress induced. There's other things that cause them too, but like a huge player in that was stress. Yeah.
Well, I'm so happy to hear it. Thank you so much. I will stop the recording, but stay on the line so I can chat with you another minute. Oh, wait, I did it wrong.